Every gilded cage is built with walls of comfort. The only question is what you're paying for them.
Have you ever just had a feeling, a sense that there's more going on in the world than what we can see on the surface? Like there's a hidden layer of meaning, a secret language just waiting for someone to figure it out. Well, today, we're diving headfirst into that very idea. This is a journey into the minds of the pattern seekers.
This line, it comes from a collection of some pretty deep esoteric wisdom, and honestly, it just kicks things off perfectly. It's this idea that the reality we know and live in, it's just one layer. And if you just shift your perspective a little, you can start to see what's on the other side.
And this is the big question, isn't it? Is everything just a bunch of random, chaotic stuff happening all at once? Or is there an order to it all? A grand design that we can actually learn to read? That one question, that's what drives every single pattern seeker.
So, okay, where does a journey like this even begin? It all starts with a simple, kind of mind-blowing realization that maybe, just maybe, there's more to reality than what our five senses are telling us. It's about learning to see what's happening in a much more subtle dimension of the world around us.
You see this idea of a universal language everywhere, like in the story of a woman named Myrtle. She was at a crossroads in her life, asking some big questions, and she started noticing cardinals. They kept showing up at her window right when she was deep in thought. At first it was one, then two, then a whole flock. Now for her, these weren't just birds. They were answers. They were messages, written in this ancient natural alphabet.
All right, so once you start believing that these patterns exist, what's the next step? You've got to find a way to read them, right? And throughout history, people have come up with entire systems, these incredible, complex languages designed to decode the universe's hidden structure. Let's take a look at a couple of these ancient alphabets.
One of the biggest ones, one you see all over the place, is sacred geometry. The basic idea here is that the entire universe is built on a foundation of math and geometric principles. So when we study these shapes and codes, we're not just doodling. The belief is that we're tapping into the very blueprint of existence itself.
Okay, take this number. Just a simple digit, right? Well, not so fast. For pattern seekers for thousands of years, numbers like this one are anything but simple. They're like keys. They're powerful symbols that are supposed to unlock a deeper understanding of a divine order. And this just drives the point home perfectly. The number 7 pops up again, and again, and again in sacred stories. From the 7 days it took to circle Jericho before the walls came tumbling down, to the 7 pillars of wisdom's house. When you see it this many times, you start to think, okay, this isn't a coincidence. It feels like a deliberate, meaningful pattern woven right into these ancient tales. This way of thinking applies to the sacred texts themselves. So on one side, you have the Kabbalistic view that the Torah isn't just a book, it's this spiritual being made of black fire on white fire that existed before the world. Then, on the other side, you've got this more modern mystical idea that these books are like living mirrors. They only show you the wisdom you're actually ready to see. Two totally different traditions, right? But what's wild is that they're both getting at the same thing. These texts are alive, and there's way more going on than just words on a page. When you start digging into this stuff, the search almost always leads you to certain groups. The people who claim to protect this hidden knowledge. We're talking about secret societies, ancient orders, and fraternities that pass these teachings down from one generation to the next, far away from the public eye. And believe me, this is nothing new. This impulse to form secret groups has been around forever. You've got the Order of Assassins back in the 11th century training followers in a remote fortress. Then Freemasonry spreads like wildfire in the 1700s. And then you get to the modern era with hyper-exclusive clubs like Yale's Skull and Bones and the Bohemian Grove. The details change, but the core idea is exactly the same. Knowledge is power, and you have to guard it. And if we put two of the heavy hitters side by side, you can really see the common threads. We're talking extreme exclusivity, private retreats miles from anywhere, and of course, secret rituals. It doesn't matter if it's a massive redwood forest, like the Bohemian Grove, or a literal windowless building called the Tomb at Yale. The whole structure is designed to create a separate world.
But, and this is a really big but, this path, this search for hidden patterns and secret knowledge, it has a dark side. There is a very fine and honestly often blurry line between genuine spiritual seeking and a really dangerous obsession. It's that point where the quest for enlightenment can just curdle into delusion.
Alchemy is the perfect example. For centuries, it was this profound spiritual practice. The whole turning lead into gold thing, that was a metaphor for transforming your inner self. But at the exact same time, it attracted a ton of fraudsters, con artists who used all the secret knowledge lingo and a little sleight of hand to trick rich patrons out of their money. The same language, two totally different results.
This razor's edge between enlightenment and danger is something modern artists have really dug into. Performance artist Marina Abramović, for instance, has basically built her entire career on using rituals to test the absolute limits of her own body and mind. She explores how consciousness can just completely override physical pain.
In one of her earliest performances, Rhythm 10, she did exactly that. So here's how it went down. She methodically stabbed a knife between her fingers over and over, recording the sounds. Then she played the tape back and tried to perfectly replicate the entire thing, including the times she actually cut herself. It's this really stark, almost clinical look at ritual, pain, and the power of the mind. But when a group's search for hidden knowledge goes completely off the rails, when it gets totally untethered from reality, the results can be just catastrophic. This number. It represents one of the darkest possible endings to a journey like this.
74 people. That is how many members of a cult called the Order of the Solar Temple died in the mid-90s. Their leaders had become so consumed by their own strange beliefs that they convinced their followers the only way to reach the next level of enlightenment was through something they called a transit, a ritual death that would supposedly beam them up to a planet orbiting the star Sirius. This is where that perilous path can tragically end.
So, after all that, after the tools, the secret keepers, and the profound dangers, where does this journey ultimately lead? Well, the final act of this story isn't about secret societies or ancient codes. It's a turn inward.
And we come right back around to this simple but incredibly profound idea. It suggests that the entire external search for patterns, for teachers, for secrets was really just pointing back to the seeker the entire time.
So in the end, the final revelation isn't some secret password or hidden map. It's the realization that the divine energy, the creative force, the light of the universe, it isn't something you have to go find out there. It's already part of you. The whole quest, from beginning to end, turns out to be a journey of self-awareness.
And that leaves us with one final question. Not for the mystics or the secret orders, but for you. If the universe really is communicating through this tapestry of signs and symbols, and if the real key to understanding it all is already inside you, what patterns in your own life are waiting for you to see them?